Minho noticed Jungkook's low spirits and suggested, "Young master, should we cancel today's trip and let you rest?" "No need," Jungkook declined. "Let's terminate the contract." Which contract? Minho didn't initially grasp it, given Jungkook's disjointed thoughts. However, Jungkook's changing aura made Minho snap back to attention. "The contract young lady signed." Understanding it was a habit for Jungkook to be less conflicted and cold about matters unrelated to you, Minho realized the significance of this decision. Minho made a mental note of this judgment for the future, sweat forming on his forehead as he drove. He was relieved that he could anticipate this decision. "I understand, young master. I will get you the contract later." This matter would undoubtedly steal his breath one day. "Destroy it." Minho paused, nodding. "The contract was a divorce agreement. Young master asked to destroy it before its time." Did this mean he had already made up his mind not to divorce young lady? Feeling a glimmer of happiness, Minho pondered that if young master chose his wife over Kim Yuri, it could be that after all, the things Yuri did were truly unbearable. Jungkook was, in fact, her best friend's husband. You slept peacefully, waking up to a sunlight room. As you rose, you noticed a change in the bed. Stunned, you realized you were laying in Jungkook's bed. You had slept on the floor last night, so why were you now on this bed? You wondered if this had once again instructed the maids to remove your things. How many times would he resort to such tactics? Angry, you lifted the blanket and got off the bed. Spotting your phone on the bedside table, you checked the time. It was almost noon. Surprised at how long you had slept, you patted your head, contemplating a few more hours of sleep. Deciding against it, you headed to freshen up. Having skipped a bath the previous day, your entire body felt uncomfortable. Opting for a shower, you undressed, only to notice ointment stains on your clothes. Puzzled, you recalled not applying any ointment throughout the day. Why were there stains on your clothes? Holding your clothes in a daze, a sudden realization struck. There had been hands on your back in the middle of the night, a warmth and coldness similar to when Jungkook applied the ointment earlier. You thought it was a dream, dismissing it, but now the pieces clicked. Jungkook had applied the ointment for you in the middle of the night. Shaking your head with a bitter smile, you questioned the possibility. He hated you. It could not be him. You were probably overthinking it. You threw clothes on the rack besides and took a bath. After 20 minutes, when you emerged from the shower, a maid knocked on the door. Opening it, you were almost shocked. Why all this? The maids wheeled in a clothes cart, hanging up numerous branded clothes in the wardrobe one by one. "What are you guys doing?" Respectfully, they explained that young master had ordered them to bring in many branded clothes, a large pile of jewelry, countless cosmetics, accessories, and more. They also added two large closets and a dressing table along with various pairs of shoes. If you had any other requests, they assured that young master would fulfill them. Their faces were filled with envy, marveling at how well young master treated you. His room, once monotonous from living alone, now overflowed with your belongings. Instead of warming your heart, seeing these things left your heart cold to the bottom. How could these items warm your heart? To you, this compensation felt like a form of humiliation, prompting a cold, bitter laugh. What does he mean? Does he think these things can buy me? Go and tell him I won't change my decision. The maids looked at you surprisingly, and you, too, were dumbfounded. They seemed unaware of the situation, so you thanked them for their hard work, not wanting to create issues. After they left, you sat on the edge of the bed, surrounded by many new items, none of which interested you. Perhaps he believed that women appreciated such things, using them as bribes. However, even if you were so poor that you could not afford food, you refused to share the same man with other women. Having just signed the documents, Jungkook paused when Minho reported that everything had been delivered. He questioned, will she really like these things? Minho placed files on the table. Of course, but you need to do more than that. He sighed, if you want to please a woman, these gifts are important, but they are not the most crucial. The most important thing is your actions. Jungkook frowned. My? Minho nodded, offering guidance. You need to make young lady feel safe. Say more gentle and kind things. Let her know that you genuinely like her. Wait, Jungkook frowned, interrupting before sneering. Who said I like her? Don't you like young madam? Then why did you want to please her? Jungkook frowned and remained silent. His expression cold, as if he could kill someone in the next second. If young master didn't like young madam and didn't want her to like someone else, there was no other way. Young master cared too much about his image and Minho had to play along. Anyway, following Minho's advice should be the right thing to do. Suddenly, Jungkook stared at Minho for a while and asked, do you have a girlfriend? Minho, who had been single for many years, blushed, I don't. Raising his brow, Jungkook commented, you never had a girlfriend? Minho nodded, yes, young master. What does this have to do with me? Jungkook sneered, since you don't have a girlfriend, how dare you teach me how to chase women? Young master, I don't have a girlfriend, not because I lack the ability, but because I don't have time to date. Minho gritted his teeth, wanting to clarify. He had been single for so many years because he was Jungkook's assistant, often woke up in the middle of the night to serve him almost 24 hours a day. Minho had dedicated all his youth to his work, making it difficult to find time for love. Is that so? Jungkook was skeptical, glancing at him suspiciously. Feeling his dignity as a man hurt, Minho gritted his teeth in anger. Since you think my method is unreliable, then find someone else. He left in frustration, and Jungkook didn't stop him. Reflecting on what was said, Jungkook realized he needed to show tenderness and let you know he likes you. He cursed in frustration, pushing everything off the desk suddenly. Investigate this matter as soon as possible. Looking at his serious and cold aura, his assistant nodded and went out. Jungkook took out the pictures again and stared for a while, the same cold eyes as hers. He truly felt that this person was his. For 18 years, he had been searching since the time he came to his senses, fulfilling the promise he made to his parents to give her everything that belonged to her. Regardless of the time he invested or the disappointment he might face, he would never give up until he found her. This woman with cold eyes was his clue. Night fell, and the city's lights illuminated the darkness. It had been a long time since autumn, and now the wind was much stronger at night. Winter would bring snow, and sometimes, as you walked the streets in your clothes, you felt the approaching winter. Like now, you had forgotten to add a coat and stood at the intersection, shivering in the cold. You had not gone to the company in days, but visited the hospital for a checkup. Given your pregnancy and concerns about your health, you underwent an examination and the result brought you great joy. The doctor mentioned that the baby was healthy, but your body was too weak. You needed more nutrition, otherwise, the child might be at a disadvantage due to malnutrition. As long as you gave birth to this baby peacefully, you would have another family in the world. In the future, it would be just you and your baby. You contemplated leaving Jungkook, finding a good job, working hard to raise a child, and teaching them how to read and write. The image of your child running and jumping after you softened your heart into a puddle of water, this feeling was truly good. Your family. It had been a long time since you had a family like this. Although you were a daughter of the Jew family, for some reason you never felt the warmth of your family. Another gust of cold wind blew over, making you hug your arms, shivering. A car's remote light approached. Due to the light, you couldn't open your eyes. After it dimmed, you found that the car had stopped in front of you. The window lowered, revealing a familiar handsome face. Secretary Susie greeted. Miss you, I thought it was you from far away just now. I didn't think it would really be you when I got close. You were a little surprised when she walked out. The one sitting in the back was the indifferent Kim Seokjin. You didn't expect to bump into them here. I have met you several times in the hospital. Miss you, are you not feeling well? Susie asked with concern. You smiled and shook your head. No, I just came here for a routine check. Why are you guys here? We passed by here and saw you from afar, so we came around to take a look. I didn't expect to really meet you. Are you waiting for the car? You felt embarrassed and nodded with a red face. Susie invited you to get in, but you politely refused, shaking your head awkwardly. However, Seokjin frowned when he saw you refusing and ordered you to get in the car. His voice was cold, carrying a sense of intimidation. Obediently, you sat in. He noticed your thin clothes and dried lips, his dangerous gaze narrowing. Why did he seem to notice your physical changes? It was not his business to know. How long have you been waiting? You lied, saying you just arrived. Lying is not a good habit, even though you think it's a white lie. He sounded unhappy. Susie, sitting in front, was slightly surprised and looking through the rearview mirror. It was clear your face was full of embarrassment. You opened your mouth but couldn't say anything. Susie quickly tried to smooth things over. Miss Yu, don't mind. Our director Kim has always been serious, but his starting point is good. When he heard Susie, he frowned. You are meddlesome. She smiled awkwardly and didn't say anything else. The atmosphere in the car seemed to have become warmer. You blinked. You didn't actually care, but you didn't expect Seokjin to expose you on the spot. The car was calm and warm, and you felt much better. Although your hands were still cold, he probably noticed, so he unbuttoned his coat and took it off before handing it to you. Put it on. You immediately widened your eyes in surprise and looked at him. No, no, no need. What? He raised his eyebrow with an indifferent voice. Haven't you been to the hospital many times? When you catch a cold, you have to go to the hospital again. Put it on. His tone was so tough that it couldn't be rejected. You didn't want to take his coat because you felt he was too good to you. Why was that? Seeing that you didn't take it, Susie insisted. You take it since there was still time to go to the destination. No matter how unwilling you were to take his suit, he took the initiative to put it on you. His movements were very fast and you didn't have time to react or reject. The suit, with his temperature, was already on your body, completely covering your thin form. You raised your head to say something, but met his firm brows, leaving you stunned on the spot. Put it on and don't take it off. His eyes were firm. After finishing putting the coat on you, he sat back. Susie in front was also shocked, and the car felt silent. You looked down at the suit and then gazed at Seokjin's steady face. For some reason, you suddenly had a very strong feeling in your heart. How could you describe that feeling? It was like family. Although this kind of feeling seemed absurd to you, the vibe he gave off was genuinely like that of a very close elder. Perhaps due to the recent chaotic events that had caused you so much distress, you felt this way. Additionally, Kim Seok-jin's steady and secure demeanor contributed to this feeling of comfort. You thanked him, and he was stunned to hear your gratitude. Glancing at you from the corner of his eyes, he noticed that half of your body was covered, and the shape of your face and your eyes stirred something in his heart. Your current appearance. How could there be two people who looked so similar? You had nothing to do with the Kim family. Why did your temperament resemble that person so closely? The demure aura and the coldness in your eyes were exactly the same. His thin lips moved, and he couldn't help but ask about your family and relatives. Susie had been surprised since you appeared in front of Seokjin. He had always been reserved and curious. Did Mr. Kim start to show emotions? He had been consistently cold ever since she knew him. Actually, she didn't understand what he wanted with you. If he wanted to pursue you, this was no hint of love in his eyes when he looked at you. Yet, a man would not treat a woman well for no reason. If he didn't want to pursue you, then why did he treat you so well? Susie could not comprehend this. He was an unfathomable man. No ordinary person could guess what he was thinking. Even Susie, who had followed him for such a long time, could not figure out his thoughts, let alone you, who had just met. It was just that the two of them had different perspectives. You could not think on such a deep level. You only used your heart to feed it. To you, he was indeed very much like an elder brother. You found it strange yourself. After all, there had never been a man who gave you this kind of feeling, but Kim Seok-jin could. You comforted yourself, thinking it was probably because he was Kim Juri's elder brother. When you thought about it, you felt at ease and told him about your family members. He was surprised that you actually had a younger sister, which was the same information his secretary had given him. You had lived with your parents since you were young, including when you were taken away by human traffickers. But what was the problem? If you were really the daughter of the Yu family, then why did you have that type of temperament? Why did the two people look so similar to his special person? Could it be that in this world there were two people who did not have blood relations but looked similar? His brows were drawn back, and it was obvious that he was pondering something important. The car quieted as it passed countless neon lights and skyscrapers along the way. By the time you realized it, the car had already stopped, not far from the John Mansion's entrance. Miss Rue, in order to avoid people's mouth, we can only send you here. Susie turned around smiling. You looked out the window at a familiar intersection. Expressing extreme gratitude, you opened the door, took off the suit, and returned it to Seokjin. Mr. Kim, thank you for today. I will leave first. If there is a chance another day, I will treat you to a meal. Hearing that you wanted to treat him, his expression changed and he nodded. I'm free in 2 days. You smiled, saying you would contact him in a few days. After you left, Susie couldn't help asking, Mr. Kim, won't you be too direct? Seokjin raised his brows, asking how he could be direct. Susie twitched her mouth awkwardly, and Mr. Kim had his own thoughts. His gaze was calm. Do you have any questions about my gratitude towards her? Susie shook her head. She had to follow Mr. Kim, but it was the first time she saw him treat a woman like that, so she was confused. It had nothing to do with her. Seokjin's eyes darkened, and he made a request for her to check all the information about the Yu family, further shocking her. However, she didn't disobey his order. It was common to investigate about you, but also about your family. Well, she would not doubt. Cold wind continued to blow, swaying your long hair as your slender figure walked alone on the road back to the Jones mansion. The area near the Jones family had been turned into a grain plantation, and the street lamps illuminated your slow and deliberate steps. The road ahead seemed long, and with your snail like pace, the 15-minute journey by vehicle would likely take more than half an hour on foot. Suddenly, you stopped and looked around, feeling confused. This was not the way home, was it? Did you take a wrong turn? But you didn't even know the way home on foot. The sound of a car approached from behind, but you didn't turn around. The car stopped beside you, and a familiar voice cut through the quiet. Why are you standing here? Your shoulders shrunk, and you continued walking without looking back. Did you hear correctly? Why was he here? Stop, he scolded, but you paid no attention and kept walking. Do you really want me to get out of the car and walk with you? He threatened. You stopped and looked back at him. He stared at you coldly. Get in the car. You stood still, and he continued to sit in the car, his gaze sharp and dark as if looking down on you. Despite his command to get in the car, you remained unmoved. After a brief pause, he could not resist saying, Open the door. Minho quickly came out to comply. Young master wants to get off the car, but it's not far. You go back first, he declared, pushing himself out of the car with a cold tone. Minho nodded and drove away. Leaving the two of you under the lonely street light, he sat in a wheelchair next to you. If you want to leave, I can accompany you, he said in a somewhat peculiar tone, as if considering a change in approach. You looked at him, and although his eyes remained cold, his words left you momentarily stunned. Who wants you to accompany me? I can go myself. You turned to walk away, and he seemed displeased, coldly snorting, Come and push me.